African Union Inter-African Bureau for Animal Resources (AU-IBER) is a specialized technical office of the Department of Rural Economy and Agriculture of the African Union Commission. Its mandate is to support and coordinate the sustainable development and utilization of animal resources, which include livestock, fisheries, and wildlife to enhance nutrition and food security and contribute to the well-being and prosperity of the people in the member states of the African Union. AU-IBER's mission is to be the vehicle of the AU for providing leadership and integrated support services for the development of animal resources in Africa's history. Before AU-IBER was created, Africa was besieged with problems of animal diseases, especially rinderpest, which devastated many livestock and livestock-keeping communities in Africa. The Inter-African Bureau for Epizootic Diseases, IBED, which was later transformed into the Inter-African Bureau for Animal Resources, was created with the sole mandate of controlling and eradicating rinderpest from Africa. At the time, the African livestock sector had fragmented policies and there was lack of knowledge and capacity to effectively deal with animal disease, animal resources development in general. A clear mandate for AU-IBER was determined and its scope of interventions or activities was widened over the years between 1951 and 2010 to cover all areas of animal resource development on the continent. Thus, AU-IBER evolved and developed into the premier African Union technical office that has a clear mandate of leading the development of animal resources in Africa. AU-IBER supports African member states with knowledge, expertise, capacity building, animal and public health, animal production and natural resource management, trade and marketing. Major impacts that AU-IBER has had on the continent include its evolution and sustenance as a premier animal resource development powerhouse in Africa and globally, enhanced sectoral governance, coordinated approach to managing animal resources issues on the continent, strengthened regional and national systems, enhanced livelihoods and food and nutritional security, enhanced income generation, enhanced trade and marketing, enhanced coordination and partnership. AU-IBER, in partnership with the European Union, has attained numerous successes in the area of animal resources on the continent. Rinderpest was the most feared and devastating disease of cattle and some species of wildlife since its introduction in Ethiopia in the late 40s, as it caused the deaths of more than 19% of susceptible animals. The disease has serious negative impacts on the livelihoods, food and nutritional security of millions of people in Africa as it rapidly spread to Western and Southern Africa. To deal with the disease, AU-IBER was created and various initiatives was carried together with AU member states and partners, mainly the European Union. The initiatives included GP15 from 1962-1976, the PAC 1986-1998, the PACE 1999-2007, and the CERECU 2006-2010. Over 2 million euros were spent on these initiatives. Rinderpest was successfully eradicated from Africa and the rest of the world and was officially declared free in 2011 by the World Organization for Animal Health, OIE. As a result of the eradication of the disease, livestock production and livelihoods were enhanced. On the aspect of governance, the African animal resources sector was characterized by inadequate policy analysis, formulation and translation skills. There were deficiencies in capacities to generate evidence for policy development. It lacked sufficient personnel with skills to formulate and analyze policies. Legislative and regulatory frameworks were inadequate, and mechanisms for participation of stakeholders in policy process were also inadequate. To deal with these issues, AU-IBER, in partnership with the European Union, supported the creation of 15 national and 5 regional policy hubs, supported the OIE veterinary legislation missions conducted in Africa, created greater awareness and ownership of national livestock policy by stakeholders, strengthened national veterinary services through the update of veterinary legislation, created greater likelihood of enhancing intra-Africa and international trade. Avian influenza, AL or bird flu, is a transboundary zoonotic disease which can easily affect human beings. It emerged in Asia in 2003 and was reported in 2005 in Europe and 2006 in Africa. Many African countries in West and North Africa, 11 in total, reported the infections. The risk of the disease becoming endemic in poultry seemed a reality in Nigeria and Egypt, and the disease could have spread to the rest of Africa. AU-IBER and the EU signed a 30 million agreement euro for a period of 36 months for AU-IBER to provide its support to the prevention and control intervention for the disease in Africa. This was executed under the Spin-Up AI and other projects. The aim of the project was to support the 47 African ACP countries with the implementation of their national plans to prevent and/or control the outbreak of the HPAI virus H5N1. This intervention contributed to the reduction of the socio-economic impacts of the AI by protecting the avian industry in Africa. Arid and semi-arid lands are widespread in Africa. 68% of the lands. They host a substantial portion of pastoralists, one of the most vulnerable groups in Africa. Due to continued population growth, the pressure on national resources has increased significantly and led to a range of conflicts. This is worsened by the issue of climate change. Building on previous interventions, AU-IBER, with support from EU, addressed the issues and developed ways of strengthening the adaptive capacities of the livestock-dependent communities, providing livelihoods alternatives and less conflictive solutions through the Livestock for Livelihood project. The project achieved successful, significant and measurable results within local communities and their ecosystems. The fisheries and aquaculture sector in Africa has been besieged by a number of issues, including lack of coherence and poor governance frameworks, weak coordination and collaboration among the key players, inadequate institutional capacity for effective monitoring, control and surveillance systems for combating illegal, unregulated and unreported fishing, and underdevelopment and unsustainable practices in small-scale fisheries and aquaculture. AU-IBER, in partnership with the EU, has provided support to the sector, which has led to a number of impacts. The sector is now on the agenda of the EU Sectoral Technical Committee on Agriculture, Rural Development, Water, Sanitation and Environment. Member states have developed the capacity to speak with one voice in regional and global fora. The policy framework and reform strategy for fisheries and aquaculture in Africa has been formulated and adopted, and the sector is now much more focused. There has been increased coherence and coordination in the sector. Most African member states could not actively participate in sanitary and phytosanitary SPS standard setting processes or comply adequately with international SPS standards. The non-compliance with SPS standards is deemed as a major barrier to accessing international agricultural markets. In short, the participation of African nations in international standard-setting organizations' meetings was generally poor and disadvantaged the EU member states. AU-IBER, with support from the EU and the AUC, has strengthened and is sustaining the effectiveness and efficiency of the participation of African countries in SPS standard-setting processes. It has also enabled African member states to take common positions during the standard-setting process. This in turn has contributed to the increased participation of EU member states in international trade in livestock and livestock products, and has also contributed to the reduction of poverty and enhanced food security in Africa through greater access markets. Many EU member states, as well as regional economic communities, didn't have a reliable system of collecting and analyzing data on animal resources within their territories, and those that had were mainly focused on animal health disease outbreak data collection and reporting. This made evidence-based planning impossible and also compromised the ability of many countries to meet their reporting obligation to the World Organization for Animal Health, OIE. AU develops an animal resource information system to assist member states in resolving the issue. Experts from member states and regional economic communities were trained and provided with equipment. AU has also been working with other partners to ensure compatibility and exchange of data and information. MS are now able to provide better data and information on animal resources and are able to base their decisions on evidence. AU is now able to facilitate animal resources information sharing across the continent. The population of humans in Africa is growing exponentially, so much that in the next 30 years it may hit the 2 billion mark. African economies are also growing, leading to rapid urbanization, which triggers the livestock revolution. The demand for most livestock products is also growing exponentially. For example, the demand for meat is growing from 14 kilograms in 2005-2007 to 26 kilograms in 2015. The demand for milk is also growing from 30 liters in 2005-2007 to 64 liters in 2015. However, the productive capacity of most African countries will be not able to meet this demand, leading to increased import of livestock and livestock products. The increase in imports will have negative offshoots on livelihoods and economies of most African countries. In order to address the situation, the AU Executive Council in January 2015, on the recommendation of the African Ministers of Livestock at their 9th conference in Abidjan, Côte d'Ivoire, in April 2013, endorsed the Livestock Development Strategy for Africa. The strategic approach of the Livestock Development Strategy in Africa is to attract as much private sector investments as possible into the sector by demonstrating the competitiveness of the return on investment of the livestock sector, to encouraging governments to invest in appropriate environments in order to reduce the cost of doing business and the risk in livestock sector, to transform the largely traditional pastoralist and subsistence livestock sector into a vibrant commercially oriented sector by reforming it through the targeted value chains approach and technology take, to foster mindset change by challenging existing narratives and value propositions. The strategy is based and responds to the comprehensive Africa Agricultural Development Program framework as redefined by the Malabo Declaration and the Agenda 2063 of the African Union. The vision of livestock development strategy in Africa is a competitive and sustainable livestock sector that significantly contributes to a prosperous Africa. The goal of the livestock development strategy in Africa is to transform the African livestock sector for enhanced contribution to socio-economic development and equitable growth. The strategic objectives of the livestock development strategy in Africa are to attract public and private investment along the different livestock value chains to enhance animal health and increase the production, productivity, and resilience of livestock production systems, to enhance innovation, generation, and utilization of technology, capacity, and entrepreneurship skills of livestock value chains actors, to enhance access to markets, services, and value addition. Each strategic objective has several result areas and strategic options for implementing them. Livestock development strategy in Africa and small ruminants. Small ruminants are among the most common species on the whole continent and provide the most practical opportunity for kickstarting the implementation of the livestock development strategy in Africa. The key early results of the livestock development strategy in Africa may not be achieved if the control and eradication of animal diseases is not given due attention. Small ruminants on the continent are seriously threatened by Ppr and the need to ensure its control and eventual eradication key to the successful implementation of the livestock development strategy in Africa. Africa has a big population of small ruminants that forms over 2/3, 68% of its farm animals. Africa's small ruminants population is distributed in all regions of the continent, with the highest concentrations in the Greater Horn of Africa and the Sahel region. Unfortunately, these are also the regions that are most prone to conflicts, especially over the management and use of natural resources. Small ruminants are an important source of livelihoods by providing a vast range of products and services. They are important components in the nutrition and food security, income generation and livelihood and resilience of pastoral communities and smallholders farmers. They also play a big role in foreign exchange earnings as they represent over 90% of the annual value of livestock exports, particularly from the Greater Horn of Africa region. They are mainly kept by women, youth, and children. When women sell goats and sheep, the income generated helps the whole family in meeting health and school fees, among other essential needs. They reproduce rapidly, are well adapted to pastoralist and agro-pastoralist ecological systems common in all the regions of Africa, and are thus an important means for rebuilding herds after environmental and political shocks. They are an important source of manure for improving soil fertility for crops production. Sheep and goats provide employment and incomes for various value chain actors, including traders, transporters, slaughterhouse operators, butchers, supermarkets, and other meat retailers. Consumers too stand to gain if they are able to sustainably access high-quality meat and other small ruminant products. The production, processing, trade, and marketing of sheep and goats is threatened by peste des petits ruminants (PPR), which is rapidly spreading viral disease that kills up to 90% of infected sheep and goats. It's currently present in 32% EU member states. PPR is among the main constraints to small ruminants production, trade, and marketing in Africa, and it undermines all the benefits of rearing small ruminants, affecting mostly the women and youth who depend on sheep and goats for their livelihoods. Huge and sudden losses of livestock often causes pastoralists and farmers to migrate away from their lands and culture in search of alternative livelihoods. The PPR financial burden in Africa is estimated to be between 460 million to 700 million US dollars annually. Sheep and goats are affected by PPR, develop signs of high fever, discharges from the eyes and nose, difficulty in breathing, diarrhea, and death. PPR is well established in large parts of Africa, except Southern Africa, the Middle East, and Asia. 5 countries in Southern Africa, Botswana, Namibia, South Africa, and Swaziland, have been officially recognized as free from PPR on a national or zonal basis. PPR is spread by direct contact between an infected and a healthy, susceptible animal, as can happen at a common watering point in markets or in grazing areas. PPR has social and economic impacts resulting from the deaths and poor performance of affected animals. In a case study in Kenya, outbreaks of PPR in a pastoral area resulted in a 10% increase in poverty levels among the affected communities. Another case study in Mauritania was estimated that vaccination 89% of the national flock at a cost of $700,000 US would reduce the annual losses due to PPR by 86% from $5 million US to $700,000 US per year. The eradication of PPR is a global priority for which the Food and Agriculture Organization and the World Organization for Animal Health (OIE) launched a global control and eradication strategy in April 2015. It is necessary to eradicate PPR to enhance the contribution of small ruminants to livelihoods, food and nutrition security, household income, and the socio-economic development of Africa. The eradication of PPR will contribute to the realization of the objectives of the Livestock Development Strategy for Africa, a Pan-African strategy aligned to the Global Strategy for the Control and Eradication of PPR was developed by the African Union Inter-African Bureau for Animal Resources (IBER). The strategy aims to eradicate PPR by 2030, control the priority diseases of small ruminants, and to strengthen veterinary services. Partnership with national, regional, and global technical institutions, as well as with funding agencies, are crucial to the success of the strategy. Sustained political support from national governments and Africa's development partners will provide the needed momentum to ensure success. The strategy will be implemented in phases of 5-year programs with specific objectives and outcomes. The first Pan-African PPR program covers the period 2017 to 2021. Within the 5 years, the program specifically aims to reduce the occurrence of PPR in Africa, improve the performance of veterinary services for the control of key diseases, to pilot mechanisms for reducing natural resource-based conflicts in key small ruminants production areas, and to promote investment in small ruminants business models to enhance market access for small ruminants and their products. The estimated budgets for the coordination of the Pan-African PPR program, including technical backstopping and capacity building for member state and regional economic communities, is €47,812,800. The funds for related activities to be implemented in the member states will be raised separately based on the respective national and regional action plan. Activities towards the implementation of the Pan-African PPR strategy and program are already underway through support provided by AU-IBER in collaboration with FAO and OIE to some regional economic communities and member states to develop regional and national PPR strategies and action plans, as well as participation in regional PPR roadmap meetings. AU-IBER's experience and leadership in continental animal health interventions, in particular the eradication of rinderpest, provide a strong foundation for PPR eradication efforts in Africa. The eradication of PPR from Africa will remove a key constraint to the production, trade and marketing of small ruminants. This will contribute to the realization of the objectives of the livestock development strategy in Africa. This requires sustained political support and financial commitment from the member states of the African Union and our key development partners. We appeal for your support and commitment to this cause.